Hi, it's Christina with the Sisyphean Journal. And again, I don't know what abortionists do is already horrible enough. I don't know why so many pro-life people try to make it sound like it's even more horrible than it actually is. And in this case, it's one of the David Daleiden videos where Deborah Nucatola from Planned Parenthood is talking about how they do abortions, illegally changing their approach so that they can harvest the parts they want. I want you to listen carefully.
In general, some people will actually try to change the presentation, so that's not vortex. It's vortex presentation. You never have enough dilation in the face unless you have a real huge amount.
Okay, so she's saying that if you're trying to harvest a brain, you don't want the baby to be head first when you're starting the abortion, because the cervix isn't dilated enough to get the head out in one piece so that you can harvest an intact brain. Okay, so if you couldn't hear, she's saying if you turn the baby around before you start the abortion so that you're pulling it out feet first, you can get an intact calvarium at the end. Now, the whole point here is that they want the brain to still be in the skull without the skull being damaged. They want that, because even an adult brain is like finger jello. Under the best of circumstances, it is not a very sturdy organ. So if you're reaching in with forceps and you're squishing the skull to pull the head out, you're not going to get a nice little intact brain that you can sell. So what she's describing is deliberately, and she wants to get the calvarium, that's this part of the skull minus the jaw. They want to get this part of the skull out in one piece so they can harvest the brain. So the question here, she says you get dilation as the procedure goes on. So I don't know if what she means is that as she's pulling this live baby out and dismembering, she's dismembering it as she pulls it out. Is she pulling the limbs off so that by the time you get to the skull, the baby has bled to death? Or is she saying that she's delivering it alive? Because again, she's wanting to get this part intact because it has an intact brain in it that she wants to harvest to sell to the researchers. And you cannot sell the brain if you have slurped it out through a tube, because it's no longer an intact marketable brain if you have slurped it out through a tube. Let's see what else she says.
I mean, there are certain key steps that can be taken.
So they can convert to breech, for example, at the start of the next step.
Ultrasound guidance, they can just change the presentation.
Okay, so she's describing that you get the ultrasound and you can turn the baby around so it's coming out feet first instead of head first.
And we've been pretty successful with that.
Yeah.
Has there ever been a case?
Okay, so basically that's what she's saying. So that is not a partial birth abortion, okay? And so it's either this baby is being dismembered alive and you're hoping that while you're doing that, it stretches the cervix enough that you can pull the head out in one piece, or they're delivering the whole baby alive and then cutting its head open to get the brain out. Either one of those sounds to me a lot worse than a partial birth abortion where you scissors here, slump and slurp out the brain. I mean, if somebody was going to kill me and my choices were having my limbs ripped off or being alive while they crack my skull open so they can get my brain out, versus they put a hole here and slurp my brain out through a tube, I would choose the slurp my brain out through a tube. That would be the least painful of these three methods of killing me. And it's the least painful of these three methods of killing the baby. So she's not saying she's doing partial birth abortions. She's either dismembering the baby alive, but turning it around and dragging it out, pulling it apart feet first, so that she can get the skull case all in one piece, or she's pulling the whole baby out alive and then killing it to harvest. It's not a partial birth abortion. You have to pay attention to what they're saying, okay?